Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fellowship of the Canis Panther first annual specialty show. And today we're just going to go over a little video showing what's expected if you wish to participate in the specialty show. So you'll watch this video and maybe you can watch some other videos as well to get an idea. The lighting isn't as good here as I thought it had been. I knew the shade was there, but I thought the sunlight would be better for us than it was, but we'll have to make do. There are plenty of example videos elsewhere if you want to look at Westminster, AKC, UKC, or FCI shows. You can certainly do that. Now, because our community is so young, I wanted to start with, this is Gothic. She has never been formally trained in any sort of a dog show. So you can see we're doing training on the fly here, and you can see she's a little happy here. She's bouncing around, a little bit of corrective action here just to show her what's expected and that we're not playing. And what we're going to start with is we're going to do this nice long trot around the show ring. And for you, it can be anywhere. If you have a venue, if you have a yard, wherever you want it to be is going to be okay. Unfortunately, we are not in a position where we are all on equal footing. Quick camera adjustment here. After we run around the ring, we're going to do a frontal examination. So what you want to do here is make sure the dog is holding still, and then you can set her up by holding her, lifting her ribs up, and then just gently set her down so the feet land in a neutral position. We'll be examining the chest and the head from that position. She's a little uptight here, so we're just getting her loosed up. And we also want to do a horizontal run across the screen just to get a nice range of motion, because running around the ring is not going to show us the entire trot the same way that a profile horizontal run will do. Now, I ended up landing her a little too close to the camera, so we're going to do our side view from a little bit further away. Ideally, the feet should be on screen. Excuse me. Now we're going to pick her chest up just like we did for the frontal examination. We want the feet to land neutral, straight down. Now we're going to adjust the rear. And we're going to plant the feet so the feet should be directly below the knee. And when you're the handler, that can be a little difficult to set up. Now, I'm going to pause the video right here. It's not, the lighting's not great. Let me go back just a little bit. So I'm going to pause the video right here. What we want is the dog to be facing forward. We want to be on flat ground, and we can see that she has a really nice top line, very little roach. The rear angulation between the feet, the knee, and the hip is okay, though I didn't line her up as good as I could, and that would be better served if she was leaning forward. We can also see that her front legs are also angled slightly forward compared to her chest, which means she's leaning back just a little bit. So again, leaning forward would rectify both of those. The more you handle a dog in this sort of setting, the more you'll get a feel for that. And as long as your dog knows the stay command, then this will be pretty easy for you to get used to. Now we also want to examine from the tip of the nose all the way down the body to the tail. And if your dog's tail is docked, and even if it's not docked, usually what we'll want to do is we'll want to hold the tail up. That way we can see the entire silhouette of the dog. I'm going to start the video again. And then you can just kneel. That way you're not taking center stage. If you're a 7-foot tall, handsome warrior like myself, then you might take the show away from the dog, and you don't want to do that. So we're just going to loosen her up again, come around, this way, and we're getting ready to show the rear. Just like we did with the front, we are going to, now she's 90 pounds, she was not easy to move like that. We're going to set her up just like we did for the front. Now she's a little wiggly, so I spent a little more time on this. But we can see the expression of the leg muscles here. This is very good. And we can also see the top line from this angle. And that can help us assess the rear. Now, I'm not a very good judge of rears. You can ask my associate Chris on that. She's very good. I'm not. So We want to get a good profile of the dog, and we can also see from this angle, if I had lined it up properly, maybe we can get a better shot here. We can also see if the chest and shoulders are going to be wider than the thighs and the hips. And if that's the case, then that gives us another point to assess. So we're just working with her here some more, readjusting those legs, lift the tail, and we want her head to be forward. But you know, we've been doing this thing for a little long now. She's not familiar with it, so she's getting a little nervous, and you can see that in her body language. She's eager to please. She wants me to be happy, but she doesn't know what all of this is. You can see that she's doing this kind of gay, happy trot, and that's just a symptom of, you know, she's trying to communicate that she's not being a problem. She's just a little confused. We're going to do a forward trot as well. That way we can assess the movement from the side with the horizontal and the around the ring, and then we can assess the movement from behind and from the front. A little congratulation here. And then we're going to examine the bite. In the show ring, a judge will approach, and the judge should never be handling the dog's mouth. Certainly with protection breeds, we're going to see that she has a nice square bite in the front, very nice dental arch on the sides, and that's going to help to encourage a single bite and hold during protection work. And you see that the teeth are clean, not misshapen, not damaged. I'll set the camera down. She's been very cooperative. And we're going to give her some praise here as well. You see she's a little nervous still, but she takes it with stride. And that's about what we're looking for. Now, just to help you understand what we're looking for a little bit better, we have some photos here in better lighting. When you stack a dog, you want them to be in a neutral position, just like we discussed earlier. This is Heisenberg. He's 8 years old, and he's standing really nice for us right here. So the rear angulation, the feet are slightly behind the knees, but overall, we can see that his rear is looking pretty good. The rear angulation, at least. You see he's got this nice deep chest, no roach, and the top line slopes angles down from the top of the shoulders to the rear of the animal. He's giving us some side eye here because he didn't want his photo taken. Ideally, he'd be looking straight forward, and the dog would be flat when viewed from the side. Moving on to the bite, here's another demonstration of that square bite. When you look at the front part of the jaw, it should be flat as if made of a square. You'll see a rounded bite in a lot of dogs who don't specialize in big game hunting or in protection work or dog fighting. You'll see a rounded bite more in your retrievers and your kind of general hounds. Now, when we're looking at the Canis Panther face from the front, as we can see here with Gothic, the face should be a square within a square. So we're going to draw the top of the small square on the nose and the bottom of that square on the jaw. And then the intuitive rest of the square is going to be along the vertical axes of the jaw, or of the muzzle. Now, the rest of the head should be mostly a square. We can see that Gothic's cheek muscles are giving this rounding on the sides. That's okay. That's not a fault, or certainly not a disqualification. And let's see if we have a better photo here of Heisenberg. So this is much more obvious when you're judging in person and you're able to look at the animal dynamically. You're not just looking at a photograph, but you can move your head a little bit and adjust for the lighting. Now, when we look at the side of the head, Gothic and Heisenberg both have the same head type. So what we would call this head structure is mesocephalic. Meso meaning middle, cephalic meaning head. And what that means in the context is that this is the middle ground between the two extremes of dolichocephalic, which is what you would see in a Doberman, and brachycephalic, which is the stereotypical face you might see on a French Bulldog or an English Bulldog. Mesocephalic is typically seen to be the muzzle and the skull are approximately the same length, and the muzzle is relatively thick but it's not overly tall compared to the skull. There's still a stop, which, if you don't know what the stop is, that is this approximate 45-degree angle from the top of the muzzle between the eyes to the top of the skull. And you'll notice that between her and Heisenberg's a little bit more sleek. His stop is more shallow, a little bit lower angle of attack. Emma's structure is coming a little bit from the Dogo Argentino, which is a modified mesocephalic structure, which is to say that it's mesocephalic, but it's intentionally bred to be thicker than a standard meso. Moving on to feet. We have two different kinds of feet that we're going to see most often. Now, first of all, I've allowed Heisenberg's claws to grow out a little bit, so we can see that these claws are not proper for showing. This is not proper show etiquette. We want to make sure that the claws are trimmed. But we can also see that Heisenberg is flat-footed, or at least partially flat-footed. His digits are fairly relaxed, and this is not a disqualification, but it's not great form. And when we see it from above, we can also see that he's a little more flat-footed on the front left than he is on the front right. And this could be from a number of factors. It could be genetic, structural. It could be that he has just some structural anomaly. There could be some structural issues, such as arthritis or something, causing him to favor one leg over the other. That is not the case, but when you see this in the show, that could give you information about the dog that you're examining. Now here we have Gothic's feet. Her claws are also a little too long, but they're in much better condition. And when you're looking for dog claws, usually you'll see the quick, which is this little pink area inside the claw. The keratin of the claw should not be very far extended from the quick, and it should be flat, blunt, and short. Where her claws are a little sharp right now, this is indicating that she has not had proper nail care, or claw care, and that's going to be my fault as the handler. Now, if we look at her front right paw, the innermost claw right there, this is pretty good looking. It's rounded, blunt, and the keratin is not very far extended from the quick. We can also see that her feet are much more upright. The feet are not relaxed, they're very tight, and this is you might associate it with a cat-like structure. This is what we're looking for in the paws of a Canis Panther. This is the way that the structure should be. But again, flat-footedness is not necessarily disqualification, though you will see better performance out of a dog with feet like this than with flat feet. So just remember, we're going to do a nice trot around the ring several times, at least twice. Then we're going to bring the dog in for a frontal examination, then a horizontal run with a side examination, and then we're going to do a rear examination, and then a movement examination with the dog moving away from the camera, directly away from the camera, directly toward the camera, and then finally we're going to be examining the teeth and the feet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them when you send your submission, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or problems you have. Thanks for watching.